God's creative process is what we've been looking at. Today, we're gonna see that he limited his focus. Let's look back at Genesis, and we see the pattern in which God created. First, if you look in the first few verses, he made light and darkness. Then he made an expanse in the midst of the waters and let it separate the waters from the waters. God called the expanse heaven. This is the sky. God made the waters under the heaven into one place. So like the oceans and the seas and the dry land appeared on the third day. Then God made vegetation. God made all sorts of other things in space, and then creatures, and then ultimately mankind. And so over 6 days, God created all of the universe, but he broke it up into chunks. When you have a big project, it's best to break it down into small sections. If, for example, you're trying to create the universe, it might be best to compartmentalize certain things into each day. And the things that God put together were things that kind of made sense together, like the land and the sea, or darkness and light. And so he got the most out of what he was doing because he was working on similar things that kind of belonged with one another. God didn't just go on and on, even though there was so much stuff to do, but he realized he couldn't do everything in a day. The truth is that God could have done it all in a day, right? But he's kind of setting an example for us in the creation account of how we, who are finite beings, can go about creating things that God's put in our hearts. You see, we're made in the image of God. And so because we're made in his likeness, we also have the capability to create. And if we're going to create in any capacity, whether it's in the arts or whether it's in our work or whether it's with our family, it's best to have an ultimate vision of what we want to accomplish and then break it down into manageable, smaller goals. Like how God said, today I'm going to make animals. Today I'm going to make people. Obviously, these are big things, but in the whole scope of creation, they're small individual tasks. A lot of times we're ineffective because we're trying to do too much. We want to do everything, and we think we can accomplish it all at once. But we're going to actually get stuff done when we realize that we can't do everything, and we have to do one thing at a time. Multitasking, it's been shown in research, kills productivity. And we're the worst multitasking generations in history, especially with the technology that we have available to us. If you can reduce and limit your focus, you are going to get so much more done, and your work is going to be so much better. Think about what God says in the book of Psalms 118:24. It says, "This is the day that the Lord has made." It goes back into what we were talking about last week, focusing on one day at a time. It doesn't say this is the week that the Lord has made, this is the month that the Lord has made, but this is the day that the Lord has made. What can I do today that he's called me to do? You can't do everything. Cal Newport has a great book called Deep Work, where he makes the case that you're only capable of about 3 to 4 hours of deep work per day, which this is when you're kind of in the zone, as people like to say. And what he advocates is that 3 to 4 hours of deep work can only come after an hour or two of getting into that space, that headspace, which means limiting distractions, maybe turning off a phone or getting alone in an office, but reducing the amount of things that can draw your attention away. And then he likes to put some time in to come out of that zone of work and re-enter into more of a normal headspace. So putting incredible attention on just one thing will enable you to do so much more. Today, don't get overwhelmed with everything, but focus on one thing that you can do to move towards the goal and the dream in your heart. Cross and Anchor To Go is sponsored by you. People have given to be able to make this content possible. And if this has impacted and blessed your life, we would invite you to partner with us in your generosity so that this can impact others. All the ways that you can give are at crossandanchor.church. Thanks for supporting.